Welcome back. It's week 6. We had a bye week in there, so
Week 6.
ready to get back on the mics. Got a special, if you didn't miss the little bye week breakout special there, check that out. But it's 1 o'clock on Sunday, October 7th, coming off, was it 41-3?
Yep.
Emasculation of the Miami Hurricanes. I'll give you the floor.
All right. Well, hey, Catholics versus what now? I mean, no shows. The ghosts. I mean, it felt like Miami didn't even really show up, but obviously we're all ready to celebrate the continuing arrival of Notre Dame as opposed. So let's not dwell on the fact that Miami didn't show up. Let's talk about how much Notre Dame did show up. I think right off the bat, I'll just go ahead and get into the defense. I think this is obviously the story. You know, once again, we've seen a team go against a team that was probably averaging more points than anybody going into this game. That Miami was averaging, I have it somewhere here, 35 point something points coming into this game. And you saw the way they opened up by going immediately vertical. And it's just, they're a team that wants to throw the ball around. So a lot of people, and this is kind of the commentary I had on this, and I'll throw it your way. On the surface, a lot of people are talking about the turnover margin, how that's such a big deal, and that's an obvious thing to look at when you talk about the defense.
Do we have turnovers last night?
No, there was no turnovers in the game, period. So. And that leads me kind of into my point. I think the story here is that they are perfecting the bend, don't break philosophy. So what does that really mean? They do have some soft spots, especially over the top, which we saw at the beginning of the game. We were saved by the drops. But Notre Dame is really only exposed when teams go vertical. But that means they're so good in the red zone because when you get in the red zone, there's no vertical option. So that backstop becomes another defender, you know? And the thing is, when teams get down into the red zone, the field gets short. They have no choice but you have to get through the line at that point. You have to get through the linebackers. It's not enough to throw over those people and get a touchdown, which is the only way that anybody scored a touchdown.
Yeah,
Navy, Purdue. I mean,
you got guys with some big arms to get up there and block.
So the point is, the bend don't break is. It's not just a philosophy of, hey, don't try until it matters, which I think how a lot of people interpret that. It's that they get down to where, as the field shortens, it is much, much harder to score on Notre Dame, and that's why teams can't. They said last night, 10 trips to the red zone. At some point in the game last night, there was 10 trips to the red zone by opponents, period, this year. And it's an unbelievable statistic.
Yeah, well, you know, it does seem that you need to score early on Notre Dame if you're going to have a chance to win. Nobody's done it, nobody's won yet. So it seems like, so far, what hasn't been disproven as a formula to beat them is score early. Be fast, quick strike, and had Miami hit those long passes starting out, it might have been a different story. I don't know. But this, at Irish Roundtable, I had sent a tweet to him this morning, said, give me a topic to discuss. You know me, I'm delusional Notre Dame fan, so I said the more irrational, the better. And he said Notre Dame's defense is better than Alabama's defense. Discuss. Here's the thing, and it kind of ties into what you're saying. I mean, are we across the board, player for player, more talented than Alabama's defense? No. Notre Dame has an amazing ability right now on defense, like you say, to do what is needed to win that game. And if it's we need 10 turnovers, that's what you get.
Right.
You know, we need to shut down Le'Veon Bell. Fine, he's got whatever, 47, he's done. Put him away. We need to contain Denard and probably get some turnovers. Fine, he throws 4 picks. You know, we need to absolutely neutralize any offense that Miami throws at us. They like tempo, and we locked them down.
Well, there was a moment last night where Miami had a very quick tempo, and we've talked about that before. The only success Michigan had at all was running the no huddle, and it just takes a while to adjust, and that's true for all defenses. It's not just a Notre Dame thing, obviously. But let's go back to this Alabama thing, because there might be some people right now that are already tuning out because they think this is blatant homerism, and talking about Notre Dame and Alabama's defenses in the same breath is crazy. But I'm really glad you brought it up. It's very ironic. I did a little bit of the analysis myself. When I looked and saw that Notre Dame was second in the country in points allowed, of course that begs the question, who's number one? The answer is Alabama. Notre Dame has thus far allowed 7.8 points per game, and Alabama has allowed 7.0. And if you just take a quick snapshot of the games that Alabama has played, they have played 4 straight home games at Alabama in the comfort of their own home in the SEC, and they played 1 away game, which you saw was when they absolutely trounced Arkansas. That's getting totally exposed this year as a bad team.
You count Michigan as a home game?
Well,
that's neutral.
Well, what?
Alabama, Michigan.
Right.
First game of the year. That's not
okay.
home. Well, 4 straight.
Oh, that wasn't at Alabama. That was in. You're right. Okay, I'm sorry. So maybe the same kind of thing as Notre Dame. Notre Dame also, for all practical purposes, has had 4 home games. We were the visiting team in Ireland, but it felt like a home game.
It's very similar.
But again,
we played in Dallas.
being away in Chicago. However, you can't get me on this one. 2 of Alabama's opponents that they have held, to get to this collective 7-point average: Florida Atlantic and Western Kentucky.
Yeah, no.
So when you pull a couple of those teams out, and then this is kind of a cherry pick stat, but the only team that they both played was Michigan, and Michigan scored more against Alabama than they did against Notre Dame.
But Alabama also scored more against Michigan than Notre Dame scored against Michigan. The point is, I think Alabama does exactly what Notre Dame does, which is absolutely what is required to win the effing game.
Right.
That's it. What do these defenses have in common? They both do whatever it takes. Whether it's turnovers, whether it's not allowing rushing touchdowns, whether it's red zone, whatever it is, these teams both show a similarity in that they go into straight lockdown mode when it's needed, and contingent upon, in some degree, what the offense is doing. If you put up 40 points, you can give up 17.
Right.
If you're scoring 13, you need 3. That's what they do.
And let's make a point here. I don't think that's obviously the execution is great on the defensive side, but I feel like we can't tip our cap enough to Diaco and the way that the defense is being coached this year, because and this brings me back to another comparative analysis I couldn't resist doing, and I know a lot of people are probably doing their heads. Notre Dame 2012 versus Notre Dame 2002, the last time they started out 5-0 under Ty Willingham, the team that famously was scoring more points with the defense than the offense, but started out 5-0, and I did a little bit of comparison there. And the team this year is through 5 games. They are scoring more points per game, and they're also allowing less points per game. Yeah. Now, the big thing in 2002, obviously, was how much they were able to score, and the special teams were scoring a lot then as well. Right.
I think I bought an autographed Shane Walton 8x10 on eBay that year. I talk about delusional.
If you look at the,
and I had a framed Tyrone Willingham too. It looked like the.
Well, hey, they were riding high. They were 5-0, and they were ranked AP number 8 after those 5 weeks.
You can find me at DNDFBF. That's at Delusional Notre Dame Football Fan. At DNDFBF.
And you have a framed 8x10 of Ty Willingham
down in the basement still. And the dog chewed the corner of it. It's all tore up. It's great.
It's ripped up. It's right by your golf bag?
I had to auction it off so I can buy a couple sleeves of Pro V1s.
Yeah.
In honor of Tyrone.
Exactly.
Moving on. First segment. Let's change gears. We talk a lot about the defense. I love defense. What else you got on the radar here?
All right. What else I got? Let's just deal with the Golson thing real quick here. Obviously, it sounds like he was only yanked at the beginning, not because Kelly has any reservations about him starting the game. Believe what you will, late for a team meeting, whatever. The bottom line is the guy came in and, just like you said, taking what the defense is giving him. He's 17 of 22, 186 yards, no TD passes, but also no interceptions. I mean, it's just really a nice great game for a QB.
That run he had early in the game, straight up the gut, was so tight. Kelly in the post game, I think I heard him say this morning, it was last night's, but it said that they hadn't put like that read option in. They weren't comfortable enough to put it into the playbook yet, which I find a little interesting. But that was a nice run. That was good to see.
And Miami's probably a good defense to try that out
I wonder
against.
if we brought one of our esteemed guests in here, old Newt School full buddy, go way back. So
the guru.
Grade school hoop star, all these things. But what we are going to talk about right now is the running back situation at Notre Dame, and because it's crowded, because our 4th string running back Cam McDaniel put 55 yards down in a grind out drive at the end of the game. Dominant. We thought we'd bring somebody else in here, make it a little bit more crowded. We got 4 running backs, we got 3 broadcasters, and we're going to talk about who the hell gets the mic and who the hell gets the rock.
Right. Okay, I'm taking the mic, and then you guys can decide who's taking the rock. Okay, let's say answer this question very simply. At the beginning of this year, before knowing anything you knew about the game, who was number 1 running back in your mind? Who was number 2? What was going to happen?
Sierra Wood starts, Leo Riddick supports, and we've got an easy 1-2.
Same. I mean, I think everybody's thinking about the same thing until suspensions and things of that nature
I was
are
gonna
happening.
say, is this pre or post Sierra Wood? I mean, does it work? I think it's a lot like the receiver scenario, which we said early in the podcast. Is there's no number one guy. It's the same way as the defense. What does it take? Who needs to break out? Everybody can do it. Whose game is it? T.J. Jones fine, he does it. DeVaris Daniels had great stats last night. Not a ton of catches, but
He's the leading receiver.
But same with the running
yards,
backs.
yeah.
Theo's had great games where he grinds it out. Sierra Wood was a man on a mission last night. He had some phenomenal runs. I still love his stiff arm. We're going to jump back to that here in a minute.
Well, let me at least say this. I agree. I think one of the things that this is a really pleasant problem to have. I think it's the fact that Notre Dame fans don't really know how to deal with a ton of depth throughout the offense. It's like, no, we need one guy that we always go to. Like, why do we have 4 guys in there? Is it because we're not No, it's because really they're that deep at running back, and it's the same thing at receiver. I mean, you guys agree that that's what's going on here?
Absolutely. When you look across the country and you look at successful teams in the last decade, one team that jumps to mind is USC. And each time, exactly, it makes me sick to say, but each time we play USC, I see their starter churn out a series where he's got a good 60 yards. And then a couple series later, they got another guy that's running the same way. And then I think when they got a big lead on us, they put in their third string guy. Great, we'll get some reprieve. Defense will get a break. No, the guy busts an 80-yard TD. So it's that kind of.
And there's 2 5-star guys without a helmet on, just sitting on the bench, right?
It might transfer. So you're right, though. I think that is one thing that you notice is the depth. Is just the depth, and the way USC had always been was just reload. Just reload. We've got 6 5-star guys who are more than happy to get their ass whipped in practice every day. That's what hurts them now because they don't have the recruits, the scholarships being limited and all that, and they don't hit much in practice now. But Pete Carroll was like, I don't care, man. I've got 5 5-stars at every damn position. You go out there and practice like you're in the NFL on Sunday because that's the only way you're going to see the field. And if you die in battle, there's another guy with 5 stars to jump right behind you. And Theo's doing great, man. He's gone through so much transition, and I wanted him to be everything. And I thought last year the guy's going to run punts back and receive and run and be this awesome thing. And he's finally comfortable in his role. But Sierra Wood's like NFL talent too. It's remarkable.
Yeah, I think that one of the things with Riddick is I think Riddick really deserves kind of some of the same stuff that's happening with Eifert. Like Eifert is so valuable now, as we've seen as a decoy. He's really not getting a lot of yards, and Riddick, he's just become a yes man. Hey, you want to play receiver? Yeah. You want to play running back? Yeah. The guy would probably play corner if somebody got hurt. He's okay. So beginning of the year, we're all thinking probably Wood and Riddick number 2. Let's at least throw the other guys a bone. Just get the conversation going here. Atkinson is leading in the total amount of yards for running back, if you can believe that. He's also he's the leading average yards per carry, and him and Riddick are tied for the most rushing touchdowns. And we saw Sierra get 2 last night, and you and I agree that maybe he would have thrown him a bone. Do you want to see more Atkinson moving forward? Do you want to see more Cam McDaniel?
And Cam McDaniel banging down, he's got 100 yards this season. Oh, Cammy with a touchdown.
And 5.7 yards
Robbie
per carry.
Toma also has a rushing touchdown, and Everett Golson has 2. So we're sitting at 937 rushing yards, almost 1,000 through 5 games. So that basically breaks down to 190.
Yeah. Well, again, it's a great thing to have come up. The fact that we need to talk about which running back. I'm just saying, the one last night against Miami, he goes around the corner, and of all things, he outruns Miami secondary that actually had pretty good angles on that play, and he just hit another level and took off. I'm putting my vote in right here. It's election season. I want to see more of this guy.
Atkinson?
Yes, I want to see more of this guy.
Listen,
it's shades of Rocky Ishmael.
here's the deal.
Am I wrong?
Here's the deal.
Just a quick blurb on the tailback situation. I love George Atkinson, and I love your reference to the Rocket, and he definitely runs like him with that urgency towards the end zone at every touch. But maybe you guys already touched on this. The biggest thing to me was the line play. And a guy like George Atkinson has 0 chance unless he can break that first layer. a Sierra Wood, a Theo Riddick, they can break a couple tackles. And George hasn't shown that ability to me yet. So if the line play continues as it did last night, I definitely agree. George Atkinson should see his carry load increase dramatically.
Well, he's a difference. It's a punt return every time you hand off to the guy, so it's different. But I do like your shout out to the line. I caught a little bit of Braxton Cave post game. They had it was like 386 rushing yards last night.
Yeah,
which is
rushers,
the second highest ever. And and Braxton Cave is who they were interviewing, and he is good, man. He is. We're so blessed to have him back for a 5th year. He's a badass. He's the heart and soul of that thing. And he was like, yeah, we love it. We love to go into the huddle laughing because we just punched another 10 yards in their face. So the line was digging it. They look like an NFL line in an NFL stadium, if you ask me, last night. Now, is Miami's defensive line great? No. They've given up a lot of rushing yards. But Notre Dame took it to them in that regard. They did. So let's go to the air. Golson not only had a couple nice runs, he had some nice passes, man, and he's shown he's got the arm to guys that can get open. Toma, nice. He's over 100 yards. What do you think, man? Theo, are you surprised by Theo's receiving stats in there?
I'm slightly surprised by Theo, the fact that he's gone to a full-time backfield role and getting as many as 17 receptions, leading the receiving corps. That's a huge number for a tailback through 4 or 5 games. DeVaris Daniels leading in receiving yards for the corps. Big surprise, but we knew he had talent coming into the year. But as you alluded to earlier, the success of this receiving corps is based on Eifert being a decoy.
Made some of these Eifert videos, and it was remarkable to me, all these games where he led in yards per catch. He always had like 22 or 25 yards a catch. He'd have like 3 catches or 4 catches for 80 yards, and it was always the highest on the team. We're looking at these stats here right now. Troy Nicholas, 3 catches. We love that number. What's a multiple of that? 66 yards for 22. How repetitive on the number side, but that's a different story. But 22 yards average per catch. Granted, sample size is small, but that's what Eifert was last year.
Yeah. And the weird thing with Eifert, it's not just him being a decoy. I mean, the thing is, he was one of the
He commands 2 guys. He does. And last year they had Michael Floyd running counter to him, and guys had to pay more attention to Floyd. And Eifert was the beneficiary of that. He was open a lot of times because they had 2 guys on Floyd. Now Eifert's the guy. I mean, it's critical to have him there, if for no other reason than he's freeing up somebody else.
Absolutely.
That's why TJ and Toma and all these guys on these little underneath things and quick hitters are open because they're committing a linebacker or safety coming down or somebody. There's an extra guy paying attention to Eifert. Because if they didn't do that, Eifert would have had 150 yards last night. Golson's got the touch to throw that. It ain't Brady Quinn. He can hit that pass.
And that's why you're seeing TJ Jones and DeVaris Daniels hitting on those 12, 15-yard strikes, because once you clear out Eifert and he's taking that deeper route, that mid to long route, he's demanding a corner or a linebacker and a safety. Once that safety's out of there, you're cleared up. And if they're running a 2-deep zone, then you've got it underneath. And that's the big benefit of Eifert and using him as a decoy. And we know what he can do to catch the ball if you throw it to him, but it's that power that he commands and respects, just as Michael Floyd did a year ago.
You know who's second in yards per catch, Nicholas? Your boy Cam McDaniel, 20.5. That's solid. And Johnny Goodman with the touchdown. We only have three receiving touchdowns this year. Imagine that. We're winning games on rushing, 13 rushing touchdowns to 3 receiving, rushing and stopping the opponent running game. Okay? I said this last night. I was ripped. But I said this several times. This is Saban-style football. That is what they're doing. Regardless if they want to have read option, whatever, Golson skirting around doing funky stuff, Tenuta blitz, whatever. It's not that stuff. It's solid fundamentals. Stop the run. Don't give up the big play. Bang it out. And on offense, it's like do whatever it takes to score a little bit more than the other guy. And if you shut him down, great.
Yeah.
But it's not. We run the ball. We've got. Now, oddly enough, we've got actually more receiving yards on the year, about 1,000 each. It's pretty close. It's 1,055 to 937 rushing, but 13 running touchdowns to 3. Damn, Tommy Rees scored a rushing touchdown and Denard Robinson didn't. Now tell me that doesn't, that sums it up right there. All right.